Today we are going over addition and subtraction word problems. First, we are going to start by reviewing equality. We know that an equal sign in an equation means that both sides are equal to one another to make the equation balance. So, for the most part, you guys usually see equations like this where there's two terms. So, for example, 8 plus 2 equals, and then you have the missing unknown after the equal sign. And so, when we have the equal sign at the end, we know that we are usually asked to find the answer or the total. However, the equal sign means that we are just balancing the equation and that the unknown can be on either side of the equal sign. So today we are going to practice finding the unknown while we are given the total. So we're going to start with this problem. So say we are given the problem 17 minus 5. Well, when we're working with subtractions problems, if we can, we always like to turn it into an addition problem because it's easier to work with. So, in order to turn this problem into an addition problem, we can reword it to say 5 plus the unknown number equals the total of 17. So, as we see, the unknown is before the equal sign in this case, and we are not asked to find the total. Instead, we are asked to find what plus 5 equals 17. So in order to do this problem, we're going to use our hundreds chart, and we are given the numbers 5 and 17. So we're going to start by finding 5 on the hundreds chart, and we're going to circle it. Next, we need to find the number 17 and circle it on the hundreds chart as well. Now that we have both numbers circled, we are going to find the easiest way to get to 17 from 5. So looking at our hundreds chart, we see that we can go down one row. And we know that when we go down on a hundreds chart, we're moving by tens. Now we are in the same row as 17, and so we can't keep going down, but instead we have to go either left or right. And we see that 17 is on the right, so we will move 2 spaces to the right. And we know that when we're moving right or left on the hundreds chart, we are moving by ones. Now we have reached 17. So now we go back and see how many spaces we moved. We moved down 1 space, which was 10, and then we moved to the right 2 spaces, and each space was by 1, so we moved 2 spaces to the right. And we know that 10 plus 2 is 12. So we know that our answer is 12. So 5 plus 12 equals 17. So just remember when you're working with equal signs that the unknown number can be on either side, and your job is just to make it so that it's balanced on each side. Now that we have reviewed equality, we're going to move into our addition word problem. And our word problem for today is Katie has 7 erasers. She buys 8 more erasers. How many erasers does Katie have now? So the first thing to do with a word problem is you want to identify what is given. So we know that Katie has 7 erasers. So she has 7 erasers to start with. And so we're going to start by writing our equation. So Katie has 7 erasers. It then tells us that she buys 8 more erasers, and it's asking how many erasers does Katie have now. So she starts with 7 and she buys 8 more. So how many does she have now? So we know that this problem is asking us to add 7 and 8. So we know that this is a joining problem where we are joining the 2 terms together to figure out how many erasers Katie has now. So in order to do our problem 7 plus 8, we're going to use the set model. And I'm going to use these hearts to represent Katie's erasers. So we know that Katie started with 7 erasers. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So she starts with 7 erasers, and then she goes and buys 8 more. So now we're going to add 8 more erasers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we have to add all of the erasers together to see how many she has. Well, since we're working with a big number, we always like to regroup to make the addition problem easier. And we all know how to work with 10, so we're going to regroup this into 10 erasers and then count how many we have left over. So we're going to group them into 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have now regrouped the erasers into 10, and now we have 10 over here, and now we have to count our leftovers to see how many we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 erasers left over. We know that we have 10 over here, and then we counted 5 left over. So now all we have to do is add 10 plus 5, and we know that 10 plus 5 is 15, so we have our answer of 15. So Katie has a total of 15 erasers. So now that we worked with our addition problem, we're going to move on to our subtraction problem. So our subtraction problem for today says that Tom has 16 cars. David has 9 cars. How many more cars does Tom have than David? So, like we did in the last problem, the first thing you want to do is identify what the problem is asking you and what is given. So it says that Tom has 16 cars and David has 9 cars. So what we need to notice about this problem is that it's talking about 2 different people. So we have Tom and we have David, and it's asking us how many more cars does Tom have than David. So in this case, we're comparing how many cars David has to how many cars Tom has. So we know that's a comparing problem. And when you're comparing, you have to use subtraction to figure out the difference between the amount of cars each person has. So we know that Tom has 16 cars and David has 9. And so we're trying to figure out how many more cars Tom has than David. So we know we're subtracting. So for this word problem, we're going to use our number line. And as you can see, our number line starts at 0 and it ends at 20. And we know that each space is equal amounts between each number. Okay, so if we look at our problem, we know that Tom has 16 cars. So we're going to find 16 on our number line and mark it on the 16. We know that David has 9 cars, and we've already established that we have to subtract in order to figure out how many more cars Tom has. So when you're subtracting on a number line, you jump backwards instead of forwards. So we're going to jump backwards 9 jumps. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when you're done, when you land on your last jump, that is the answer to your question. So we landed on 7 when we jumped backwards 9 times. So we know that our answer is 7. So we know that Tom had 7 more cars than David. So we finished practicing both of our problems. And so just remember for next time the importance of the equal sign, and remember that your unknown can be on either side, but your job is always to make sure that both sides are balanced and are equal to one another.